college football and NFL show. We have a lot of fun with this one. We had a long show this morning talking college basketball and really Brian's dating career. But, it's this time we were actually going to talk mostly about sports. Charcuterie board is
I think Tony knows all the things behind charcuterie, so we don't have to teach him anything here.
No, it's like we had
not like Brian.
We totally had to revamp Brian's entire date. It started, so his plan started with a 4:30 p.m. dinner. Yeah,
You must be dating. I shouldn't say this, but I find that women that are a little older than you are, they like to start early for some reason.
Yeah, 4:30.
Yeah.
Brian's got, it's all set. I got a dinner reservation around 4:30. It's like, what?
Right then and there, the show had to turn to help him out with his date.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We even switched restaurants. Went to a whole new direction.
Yeah.
We're out of the steakhouse.
Well, hopefully it's a successful date for him.
Yep.
Hopefully.
We're hoping. We're hopeful.
He might be in a better mood.
Yeah.
We'll find out on Sunday.
Smile a little bit more.
Find out on Sunday.
Everyone will be able to tell right away Sunday morning.
Well, Tony,
Yes.
we've got 5 games tonight, and we went over them this morning. I don't have any premium picks on these tonight. I only have 3 college basketball picks, and that's all I got. It's like I'm really struggling with the card these days. I love the games this morning, but the thing is that by the time I realized I loved them, we were already on the show. The games were ready to start, so I gave them out. I gave out a free parlay this morning, right out of the gate, because we had 45 minutes. We have I wouldn't go with someone whose way of contacting me was the comments on a live show. I don't really think those are the people I generally work with. So
Those are marketing people wanting to put a link on your site or put some.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like you can email
guest
me,
post.
Mitch
Give me a guest post.
at PickDawgz.com. Super easy. I might be the easiest guy in sports handicapping to get in touch with. We have a chat window. We've got like everything. If you buy a pick, my phone number is on it. Anyways, I gave out this morning on the show. This morning on the show, I gave out Boise State parlayed up with Utah State for college hoops. Love them both. Love them both.
Yeah, there were 3 games that kind of stood out to me in the college card tonight. It was that Auburn-South Florida game. I think there's 2 blowouts, and there's one dog I like. I like the Auburn to blow out South Florida. South Florida's just a sorry team. I like Michigan to blow out UNLV, and I like the points with Wichita State against Arizona.
I said the same thing on Wichita State too. Just seems they're not that far. Wichita State's not that far removed from Greg Marshall, where they don't have anything, and I think that they've built a culture there too of having great players come through the system. They don't just have great players; they have NBA players that come through the system. So it's like when you get that NBA players coming through the system, then you're going to build a good program. You're going to get those guys. I mean, do you think Fred VanVleet would have gotten time at Kentucky?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And with the Shockers, they got a strong backcourt. They make their free throws. They defend 3-point line, and they force turnovers.
He played behind somebody else there. He was like the next guy up from another great guard there, right? At Wichita State.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he was kind of the B player, in that role. But there's been there's some good ones out there tonight. I like those ones you mentioned. I like a few other ones too. I like it better.
Can you believe that Kevin Kruger's the head coach? How is time flying? Remember when he was playing for his dad at UNLV? It just seemed like yesterday.
Yeah,
Kevin Kruger now is a head coach, 38 years old.
His father's retired. Retired. They got the guy from Loyola.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big get.
Yeah,
I'm sure he wasn't cheap.
No.
To get those guys to move, like those guys from the small schools that are seriously secure in their spot, it takes a crowbar to get them out of there. So I can only imagine what Oklahoma offered them to get them there.
What's your thought on this Marquette team? Because on paper they didn't look very good, but they pulled up some upsets.
Shaka plays well with these type of teams are more his type of teams than the front runners like Texas, where he's kind of like that muddled, he's way better. He was way better at VCU than he was at Texas, and I imagine he's gonna be way better at Marquette than he was at either of those, because he's got that Big East thing working for him. But at the same time, he doesn't have those like monster expectations of having to only recruit top 5 at each position. He can kind of get guys that fit his system. He needs motor guys, in order to make it work. Like he could have Kevin Durant, Tristan Thompson, all those guys that have come through Texas. He can have all those guys and not be as effective, but he needs the guys with the high motor who are going to play the full 40 minutes on 110%. That's his system. That swarming, defense, just making every pass uncomfortable. It's like there's not like an inbound pass against a Shaka team that's a comfortable situation for the other team. Like there's no, like, even when the guy's like under the basket, he kind of like passes it to the point, like gets the rebound, he kind of gives it to the point guard, to dribble it up the court. It's like that's not comfortable against a Shaka Smart team. You don't get the luxury of just being able to hand it to your point guard. You got to get it to him, right? It
seems to me that Shaka Smart needs coachable players.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. There's a difference between coachable players and non-coachable. Like guys like Steve Lavin, he'd be great for strong recruits because he didn't do a whole lot. He was always late to practice. Steve Lavin was, and he let the guys play. There wasn't a lot of system going on. It's just use your raw talent and win. But I think that the coaches like Shaka Smart, he needs coachable players more than he needs those top star recruits.
We're going to find out with Chris Beard there if it's a culture issue with Texas athletics from top to bottom, because it appears the football team and the basketball team have underachieved for so long. I mean, last year they went out to Abilene Christian in the tournament, that's unacceptable. But at the same time, it's not like they came from anywhere that they didn't go out and need this guy in the first place. They don't have the coach that they don't have Roy Williams just retiring or Coach K just retiring. And with that athletic budget, you should, Yeah. You should. They have the number 1 athletic budget?
And right up there. Now they're going into the SEC, so they had I don't know what's going to happen to Longhorn Channel now. When they go to SEC.
I got Longhorn Channel.
Yeah, I have it too. But that was one of the reasons why Nebraska and Missouri catapulted out of there. They felt that Texas was getting all the calls. There was some very questionable officiating with these Texas games back in the day.
They're a different breed, but I think Shaka's a better fit at Marquette, and it's more his type of players that he's going to get there. And, I think he's going to have a lot more success. That Texas job, while it sounds good on paper, it's certainly not for everyone. I mean, Rick Barnes couldn't get it done there, There's been some good coaches that have gone down in Texas, that's for sure. And even look at the football program.
Yeah, I was with you with Sarkisian. I couldn't believe these hires. I mean, it's just incredible.
That one doesn't. That one evolved. Like Charlie Strong didn't make a lot of sense, but it was like, all right, I get where they're going with it, And then the guy from Houston, who's through the Urban Meyer line, it kind of makes some sense. This was like, what are you doing? And what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be like Pete Carroll.
Terrible defense.
It'll be like Pete Carroll. He frizzled out with the Jets, and he was really good at USC. It's like, in the Seahawks, I don't think so. Or Belichick, frizzled out with the Browns, but,
Well, Belichick got a seasoning. We forget to give credit to Bill Parcells.
Oh, yeah.
I think Bill Parcells is the one that really molded that. If you watched the game last night, that was a Parcells type of football game.
But I think
that was Bill Parcells all over again.
I think so, but I think on the defensive side of those teams, I have to think that Belichick probably did a lot more than he got credit for. I think when you win the Super Bowl with Jeff Hostetler as your quarterback, I think your defense has something to do with it. And we talked about this stat earlier in the week on our show, and this was my favorite stat of the week, is that the New York Jets have given up more points in their last 4 games than the 2000 Baltimore Ravens gave up in a season.
Crazy stat.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember that team? So they didn't score a touchdown for 7 weeks. and they won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They had a great kicker and a great defense. And Trent Dilfer.
Dilfer quarterback.
Yeah. They won the Super Bowl. That if you get Trent Dilfer to win the Super Bowl, then the MVP is coming from the defense. You know, that's the way it works. It's not like Trent Dilfer all of a sudden becomes the MVP. But yeah, the Jets have given up more points in their last 4 games than the Ravens gave up in 2000, the entire season.
Nuts.
Crazy. But we got 5 games tonight, college football. And I don't know. These are kind of games, they're better than last night's game. But none of these are games that if they were on a Saturday, at least not for me, am I fully interested in. Maybe Memphis, Houston. Maybe. I like Air Force, Nevada because these are our guys, you know. But
yeah,
I don't know. They're not they're not the games that we rally around, you know. Like it's not Oregon, Utah tomorrow. That's for sure.
No. And it's disappointed with Arizona and Washington. Although Arizona has played a little better, I might lean toward taking the points with the Wildcats because they start show a pulse of late. They've been competitive here, covering 4 straight. Out of those games, I like Nevada in this game, and one of the reasons I do is because of the pass defense for Air Force. Air Force, when you look at their numbers here, recent numbers, they're giving up 9.6 yards per pass attempt. That's scary when you got a Carson Strong throwing the football. So I'm still scratching my. How could this be? How can this be only one with the way Air Force's pass defense is trending? But again, maybe they're looking at season-long numbers. I like to go back to the past 3 games. Like I grew up looking at the racing form, so I look at current form. When I look at the current form for Air Force, they're not defending the pass very well. And we got Carson Strong throwing the football here for Nevada.
I think for me, the on this one, you know, Joe, what do you think? Because for me, the way I'm looking at it is that maybe Air Force's run game is able to keep Nevada offense off the field. But I see Nevada with those big receivers just going right over the top of these guys, just opening the top up on them time and time and time again, which means that the Nevada defense is going to be on the field a bunch because the offense isn't going to be out there much because every single throw. I can't see them being able to defend a pass on these guys. I just don't see it. And I can't see them.
Yeah, I think Air Force is definitely going to try to control that time of possession, but I think Nevada definitely will be able to put it off down the field. And I think off that loss to San Diego State, they're going to come out so hungry to get this win. I like Nevada at home tonight to do it. They're 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games versus teams with winning road records. I think they do it again.
Yeah, and Carson Strong is a very accurate quarterback, so he's facing a defense that doesn't defend the pass very well. So I think it plays, as you said, plays in favor for Nevada here.
Absolutely. And you look both these teams, neither of these teams turn that ball over. I'm not worried about Carson Strong being picked off tonight against Air Force. I think both these teams are just going to have to try to have the ball last, honestly, in this one.
You know, the funny game with the San Diego State UNLV game, if you watch that Nevada game, I was in a poker tournament. I was watching that game last night because I had Nevada +3, and it played perfectly because Brady Hoke kicks field goals. On 3rd and 6, he runs up ball. I don't know if you watched that game last night, but if you had money on San Diego State, you were just pissed off at Brady Hoke because this guy, he's a defensive coordinator acting as a head coach because he just relies too much on his defense. I wouldn't, and again, I wouldn't lay double digits with San Diego State, even though this is UNLV and they've won their past 2. It's just hard to lay points with this Aztecs team with Brady Hoke as head coach.
Wow. WorldSeriesOfPoker.com just emailed me and said that if I sign up with them, I'll get a $56 in Blast tournament tickets. I don't know what that means. $10 Blast. Oh, I get $56. So Super Bowl 56. Get $56 in Blast tournament tickets. $10 Blast, 2 $10 Blasts, 6 $5, and 6 $1 Blast. And then each qualifying win, you go into a raffle, a drawing, and you win a trip to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
They've obviously
I should
me,
tell my
they've
family
obviously seen me
about
play
that.
poker recently, and they're looking for another stiff at the table. I think my days of
poker face.
my days of competitive poker, I think, left about 15 years ago. At one point I used to be really, really good, and I think it's one of those games that when I was at that age, and they always said, "Oh, it's a young man's game," and all that other stuff, I was always like, I don't know, it's like I could see myself playing, whatever. And it's like now that I'm this age, I'm kind of like, they can have it,
Yeah, you got the cash game. Tournaments are too long. It's just too long.
It's too long.
You know what's happening out here? Is with the COVID, there's a lot of home games, and there's people buying homes and turning them into poker homes. They're just playing poker around the clock. With the drops. And you're not supposed to drop, but they've got this little workaround that system. But yeah, home poker games have really gotten huge out here.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I hadn't played in 10 years at least, and I was at the Bellagio. I was by myself, and I bought in. Just sat in and played. Some pros and whatever. I just sat down, see if I could still play. I cleaned the clocks, man. It was fun, because it was like I didn't get to play a lot of hands. It was a long time, and I realized why I didn't play anymore. And I kind of sat there at the table for a long time, but I caught the nut flush on the turn. And I just cracked a couple of those Russian pros. I mean, I just cracked them. Had they had any more money in their stack, I could have taken them for that too. They're doing the whole like going around the table, saying like how I bet, and recapping like everything around the table like 10 times because they had hit me. It's like finally I didn't really raise until the river. I came over the top, on the river. So they had no idea I'd caught the nut flush on the turn. No, they had like 2 pair or something, aces, like because I had a king, so that was the ace out there was my nut flush.
Did you see the final hand in the World Series of Poker?
I didn't see it.
Okay, the 2 stacks, there were 2 big stacks, right? They were almost 50-50.
I knew they played a bunch of hands.
Yeah, and the guy went in. He had a king queen. He had king high, and he went all in. And he had 9 million less chips than the chip leader. Chip leader sat there with 2 pair. And it looked like there could have been a straight on the board, and it was and he made the call, and it was the right call.
Wow.
It's when you get to that heads up, it's always a coin flip. Normally, when I get in a tournament and I get to the heads up, I always cut the deal. It works, and I'd say it works out for me about half the time. That I would have won or wouldn't have won or whatever. I always cut the deal. Like say the first prize is $128,000. It's like and first prize is like 128, second prize is like 70. You go like you split 160 and you play for 25. Now
you were in position where it was 8 million for first, 4 million for second, and they were near 50-50. Would you have done a 6 million each chop? Did you make a deal?
I wouldn't go 6 million each. I would go 5-5 and play for $1 million.
Okay.
I still have to play for something.
Yeah. They have to play for the ring, right? I mean, there's something to play for, win the title and all that.
Oh, that's true. That's true because you have all the other stuff that goes with it. You have the bracelet.
Yeah.
So I probably would do the chop. I probably would.
Be 12 million. So that then you go 5-5 and you play for the 2 million.
It's because when you're heads up, it's just when you're heads up, it's really is a coin flip.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to go in on a hand that you don't like most of the time. Yeah. You're going to go all in or in big on a hand that you don't really love. And you're definitely going to be in, no matter what, uncomfortably in on a not made hand, unless you've been dealt a pair, right? So you're in on a hand that's not really made.
Yeah, the second place finisher went in with a king high on the board, and king, and the guy had a 10-2 and just happened to hit 2 pair.
See, heads up. What happens in order to be even in heads up, which doesn't really even happen that often, is the bully has to get punched in the mouth. Like some guy's bullying the other guy, and then all of a sudden he walks right into a monster, into a boat, right? It's like we've all done it, right? It's like you're pushing some guy around, and all of a sudden it's like kings up. It's like, no.
You can tell those guys. They give them out. I've trapped so many people with min raises. They think I'm weak, and then I just come over the top over them.
I mean, I've had such miserable runs that mine ended winning. My most miserable run ended. I finally got the bad beat jackpot. It was like I got beat with a straight flush, and it was like I had 2-3 of diamonds. It was 4, 5, 6. Was on the table, and the other guy had 7, 8. It was like, it's like, that's really bad, but I knew the bad. On that, you can go in, all the way, because you know that you're probably beat. I mean, at that point, if someone goes and that's on the board, you're probably beat. But it's like, but the bad beat jackpot was so big, it was way more than was at the table. Like, you have to really get a miserable beat like that to get to do it. But anyways, we could do a whole show on poker.
I know we can.
Joey, poker player?
No, but I got a couple professional poker players in the family, so
nice.
They do well. I don't understand it well enough. I learned it over the start of COVID. It's never been my thing. I like blackjack.
I prefer just playing in person versus the online myself. I enjoy that more. I think you have a better edge that way.
I have no poker face, so it would work the opposite for me. I'm like, oh, get all excited.
Or you do the thing where you look at your cards and you look at the board and you're like, in your head, you're trying to see if you're straight hit. you give it away.
I can't help smiling. I get all excited when I have a good hand.
I sit there stone cold. That's like, and they'll like stare at me. They always do it, Vegas, it's like, that is where they always do it too, because the guys are so young now. It's like they're all like, so young. You have kings, don't you? Because like Negreanu does that, the old, I know you have kings or whatever, So like they all do it now. Like they all do it now. You have
all the crypto money that's in there.
Yeah, it's like you have kings, and I say, yeah, I do have kings. Whatever. And then they play it anyway, and then I turn it over, and it's like kings. It's like, I told you I had the kings. What are you talking? I mean, I don't understand why we're going through this formality here. It's like, why not? Yeah, I got kings. Whatever. Pay me to see them. Do whatever you like. Don't care. Not that interested. That's when I realized I wasn't that interested anymore. When that started happening. More and more. Yeah. It's just like, you have kings. I know you have kings. Or some guy beat me, sucked out. Like it was the day Michael Jackson died. And he had Jack 5. I played J5, Jackson 5 for Michael. I think it sucks. You never play that. It's like, I had queens, whatever. Someone raises 4 times the pot. You call with J5. I don't think so.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of guys out there that have their favorite their bad starting hands that they play, and they get excited when they win. That's.
So, anyways, we're on Nevada and Air Force here, right? We all kind of have a lean to Nevada. Arizona looks to be a little bit too many points to pass up. That's why I don't love these games. And then the big one is Memphis and Houston. Houston, just a lot to play for at this point. All of a sudden, they could be looking at one of these Cotton Bowls or something, and they knock off Cincinnati.
Yeah, they sure can. And, what I've seen from Memphis is, I don't know if their current form shows that they're playing better defensively. It's hard to trust them defensively. We see them so early in the season play poorly. But what leads me to the points here is the play of Seth Hennigan. He has returned from a hand injury. We saw some good performances here against SMU and East Carolina, and I would look to take the points in this one. Late in the season, I'll do that.
Also, everyone that's out there, I want to thank everybody out there. We passed 30 million views today for our channel, and for me, that's a milestone. We have goals on YouTube, and we're not anywhere close to those, but these ones, the 30 million views and stuff, that to me is pretty big. So we'll take it. We appreciate all of you that have watched our videos, and of course Tony and Joe for being part of us reaching that total, which is they're starting to get into the big numbers, starting to get there. We're not, which is, basically 50% of what Mr. Beast gets on one video, right? So it's like we're almost at 50% of what Mr. Beast gets on one video. So we can figure out what he's making a year, which is probably, I guess, 20 to 25 million.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure he is.
Yeah, I kind of stayed away from that bottom feeder game with Southern Miss and Louisiana Tech. Boy, Southern Miss is just, they were a mess last year when they fired the coach like week into the season. They haven't recovered from it, and their offense has just been horrid.
Well, they beat Grambling.
Louisiana Tech.
They beat
Grambling, yeah, right. I mean, it's just, Louisiana Tech's a really young team. They're getting a little better offensive production of late here with that big win against Charlotte, but it's way too many points to lay.
And then UNLV has been a pretty good cover team this season.
At the end of the season, they've gotten better with their quarterback. Friel has gotten more accurate. He's averaging 7.2 yards per pass attempt against the Mountain West. And again, could you have the guts to stomach Brady Hoke laying double digits? The guy who runs the football on 3rd and 7, he plays for field goals. So it's very tough to lay. It's very tough to lay that many with a team, San Diego State, that have scored 23 or fewer points over the past 5 games, and you're going to lay 12 with them.
Was Brady Hoke there twice? Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
So
he was an assistant to Rocky Long. Then Long moved on.
That's right.
Retired, and then Brady Hoke took the job again. He's made him competitive. I mean, they're making bowl games, but he just seems to play scared offensively.
He had that Michigan job. He beat Ohio State more than Harbaugh did. That's right.
I know.
He had shoelace.
Yeah, I agree. Give me the Rebels plus the points. I think that is a tighter one for sure. And then I can't get behind Memphis, especially on the road. This is a team that has really struggled on that road, and their defense is just giving up way too many points. I think Houston's able to get a nice win here. They've got everything to play for.
Yeah, Houston they're the squarest play on the board, but
yeah, they are.
I don't know. Struggle.
I just like the way their defense is playing, and I think they're just going to rush Memphis like crazy and get to their quarterback.
It's just odd for me 2 days in a row with football, and I don't have a premium pick in any of them. I think it's the first time in my whole handicapping career that's happened.
Oh, there was one college football that Louisville Duking was really a head scratcher as well. You didn't. I think during the season you hate both. You love the bet against both teams. In a situation where you're trying to pick. Yeah, just terrible.
Terrible. I think Houston either really beats up Memphis or it's a lot closer than it needs to be. Houston. When you look at the extended lines, I like to look at the extended lines, and what we see in Houston is that when you start here at the 9.5 where it is, right? So you get the standard juice, but even at -10, you're still at negative juice, 10.5 plus 104. So there's not even any value moving up a full point there. You move to 11, you're at plus 109. It's a 1.5 up. You can't buy a 1.5 for 15 cents, let alone, so super tough. So then you start going up and you figure, well, where am I at 2 touchdowns, plus 129 just doesn't, once again, not that appealing, because you're laying 5 additional points. I don't know.
What do you guys think of the total in this? We look at the total. It's hit over in 4 of the last 5 matchups.
Yeah, well, this is the best Houston defense.
Yeah,
I can't.
This is the first time that both these teams are defensive, because like Dana Holgerson's been wide open on defense, and it was basically either you get defense this year or you're fired. So they went defense. He's known as an offensive coach. I mean, he's the founder of. He's not the originator of the spread, but isn't he the originator of like the War Eagle or whatever, like the spread, like the modern spread. I think he is. He did it at Oklahoma State.
With Geno,
Oklahoma State.
Right? Yeah.
He kind of was the guy that did it.
Did you guys think Memphis's defense is going to be able to hold down Houston? Because Houston has a team total of 34.5. And we look at the defense of Memphis, they're averaging giving up 35.7 points per game on the road. So it's a point difference based on what they give up.
Yeah, that is true. The only thing here is that the past, now, you're looking at home road splits is something obviously you want to look at. I'm looking here just the past 3 games overall, where the improvement's been defensively, where they've held out teams to an average of 374 yards a game and only 3.7 yards on the ground. So I'm seeing in the last 3 games some improvement defensively. So I think that's why you see a little. Actually, I'm seeing a 59.5 now in a place in one of the really sharpest books out there. So we're starting to see a little movement there toward the under, because I think some of the folks that look at current form are seeing a little better form from Memphis defensively, and they value that more than the home road split.
I just really like the college basketball tonight better than I like the college football.
I agree.
I gotta say, it's like I love college football. I mean, it's my game, right? But I really love college basketball too, and I just think that this is such a special year for college basketball.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the greatest year in the history of college basketball. This will be the one that they look back and they say, this was the greatest year in the history of the game. And we're already seeing it. We're already seeing it happen. We're seeing double-digit dogs knock off favorites on a nightly basis. Last night I had a double-digit dog that was a live double-digit dog, and I don't know, nobody was on him, but these guys, they led the entire freaking game. They lost on a buzzer beater, but they were getting 10.5. I mean, it was no doubter. Yeah. Tim Miles at San Jose State. San
Jose State and Arizona State would not have covered if not for the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Arizona State covered because they got size in the offseason to handle the size of San Diego State. And San Diego State can't make threes. No. And we're starting to see what happens. You're taking away depth.
Matt Bradley sucks. I did not like that transfer at the beginning of the season for San Diego State. He does not fit their system. Doesn't fit. No. He's a chucker.
No. And they're hitting 15% from 3 heading into that game, and I was just I lean toward ASU in that. I know I was talking with Alex Smart on that yesterday, because everyone in the world seemed to think that San Diego State was going to wipe them out. I said, well, look at their 3-point shooting, and look what Arizona State has done. In the transfer. What we're seeing with this transfer is you're taking away depth from some of the good teams and spreading out to some of the mid-majors, some of the also-rans. So you're getting a little more competitive basketball now. You're seeing what we're seeing here with these transfers.
But I think the other thing that the other side of the transfer portal is also that their teams are able to purge some of the players that they have that might be attractive to other programs, but might not be a fit to what you want to do. And I think Arizona State was able to do that too by getting rid of, some of those players that you can't what are you going to take away their scholarships? I mean, these guys are good players that, most people would want. So now you've been able to get rid of them. And they sent, what's his name? The guy to Kansas. He's got the name, I forget what his name is, but it's something. Yeah. He went to Kansas. And, a few of these other high-profile programs, Arizona State guys. But you're right. They cleaned it out, and they went to a defensive style because last year they were just a sieve.
They were short. They had no size.
I think the portal will never be like it is now. My guess is that you're going to start to see – I know that Fran McCaffrey a couple years ago was really anti-portal. He was major anti-portal. He was like this – the way Remy Martin, that's the guy who transferred to Kansas. Yeah. But right. The portal was not meant to be what it is now, where you're using the Oaklands of the world as your farm system. That's not what it was meant to be. And that's what it is. Oakland is now a farms team for everybody else. And, even Western Michigan and, teams like that. These are now farm systems for Kentucky and everyone else. Davidson. It's kind of like the Yankees, with free agency with no salary cap. It's like
what hurt the major colleges is the fact that the bottom feeders will lose players,
right?
And it'll be a bigger gap between the top and the bottom. Let's say in the Pac-12, we're starting to see Cal falling off the cliff. We may start seeing some of these teams, the bottom feeders in some of these major conferences, fall off the cliff here as their good players leave and they're left with scraps at the end.
Well, as good as the Pac-12 is now at the top, and I know Oregon got blasted by BYU. Trust me, they play in March, and that you're not going to see a score anywhere near. BYU might still beat them, but you're not going to see a game like that, because Oregon's still blending together with their guys because of the portal. But as good as the Pac-12 is at the top, I mean, Washington and Cal are pretty much about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
they're hideous. I mean, Washington stinks. They got to overtime. They did the foul Ben Simmons or the hack Shaq. They did that to Wyoming last night. They found the guy that couldn't hit free throws. They started hacking him. They get the game to overtime. Somehow, miracle, get it to overtime. Then they start hacking the guy. All of a sudden, he starts hitting them. It's like, that's not going to work. So he's just now they're desperate because now they're down by 4 in overtime, 5.
And then one of the bigger disappointments this year has been Oregon State. They lost two good scorers, and they lose last night to Stanford without Sun, and it was a pretty bad look. By the way, Amari Cooper is out. This just came across right now, COVID on the Cowboys receiver, out for the next 2 games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not good for the Cowboys there.
I think they need to, we'll see what happens with all that. And it's going to be interesting to see the way the NFL carries on.
Well, Davidson did cover here. They've just finished. Penn was on that, play the double overtime. Well, it didn't hurt Utah State, though. So Davidson moves into the 5th place game. It just finished. And St. Bonnie's is upsetting Clemson. They've won by 3.
Lane Kiffin. Recruiting rules allow Ole Miss Lane Kiffin to promote Arch Manning. Well, we know where this kid's going, right? Is there like a mystery out there that he's not going to Ole Miss? I mean, he just happened to be there at the right time. He was going there no matter what. I got news for you. I could be coaching. He'd be going there. It was pretty much an easy one.
I wonder if there's a tampering rule in college basketball. When you've got if you're trying to actively recruit other players. I don't know. It would be interesting to see as we're into this transfer portal what happens moving forward.
Well, what we're starting to see at the transfer portal also is that the coaches, as the transfer portal becomes more prominent, the coaches that get fired or move on to a different job, we're starting to see players that start to come back to them after they made a different decision. So Alford, when he was at UCLA, was recruiting like crazy, right? He had UCLA, he was a terrible coach, but he had like the ability to recruit because he's at UCLA. Now he's at Nevada, and he's getting the players that he recruited initially at UCLA that didn't sign with him. So he's gotten guys from Texas and wherever to Nevada.
But but if you're an AD for that school, maybe you're okay with it, right? Maybe let him take his guys with him. Let's start fresh with the new coach coming in.
Well, a lot of the issue with college athletics, and it's been for a long time, is that a lot of coaches, they don't recruit not just for needs, but just so the guy doesn't sign somewhere else. And, what the portal has done is taken that away, and it's like they just sit for a year somewhere. They'd sit tucked away at Georgia for a year. They sit tucked away at wherever for a year, Clemson for a year, and then they transfer out. You think Clemson would be this bad if they didn't get hit by the portal? Imagine where Georgia would be if they didn't get hit by the portal. I mean, imagine Georgia last year, if it was Justin Fields quarterback in their team. That would have been a little bit. Imagine what Ohio State would have been if they didn't have Justin Fields. So it's, it gives and takes. But I do believe that it will be somehow limited, the number of players you can take in via the portal. I don't think you can, in basketball, you should be able to replace, 80% of your roster.
Yeah.
It's Oakland, for Oakland to lose 10 players a year is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even make sense. It's like every year. So what are you, What exactly are you at this point? It destroys the integrity of college athletics and the whole thing of, why the original transfer rule was put in to begin with, because you've made a commitment and this is where you're stuck, or you have to sit a year. That taking out the sitting of the year is really what's, that's all that's.
Yeah, that's the big thing. That's right. Taking away the sitting for the year was.
Also, you should be able to transfer once, not multiple times.
Then you have the graduate transfers too. Well, that's where.
This year, the graduate transfers, and that's what you have. That's originally the way that they did it. So you have Ohio, right? You have the guy, he averaged like 16 points a game for Ohio. Then he transferred out. He played, somewhere else, one of the big schools. And then, Ohio loses their top scorer or whatever, and now back to Ohio, finish it off, It's like the Grateful Dead concert, Uncle John's band into drum space, back into Uncle John's band.
And it also plays into strategy in college football, because if you got a starter who's struggling and you bench him, you better it's almost guaranteed he's transferring the next season, right? It puts a lot of pressure on the head coach when he has to make that call on a starting quarterback.
Joe's got a fan in the comments, Fernando Encinas.
Well, thank you, Fernando.
Fernando. In a sky full of stars.
A fun name to say.
Excuse me?
I said Fernando is a fun name to say.
Fernando.
You say it way better than me.
Isn't that an elf? They say that? Isn't that the name? I think that's the name he says.
I don't think so.
I think it is. An elf. When he goes to the office, he goes to the front office. Like, Fernando.
Is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I didn't get to watch Elf last night, so I'll watch it. I'll let you know.
In a sky full of... He obviously didn't see Joe yesterday.
Oh, no.
I had no coffee yesterday, Tony.
Oh, I know. I saw the show. Yeah, you made her coffee. Just one cup a day, right? That's okay, right?
She gave us these three guys are sitting in the back seat on the ride home. We play the dollar.
It was a hard day.
It was
hard day.
Now, it's not one of those 48 ounces like Zawasi walks around with. Is this cup of? That's my cup of coffee. I have 1 cup a day. Oh yeah, it's 48 ounces.
I have multiple cups a day. I had 4 before we got on the show this morning.
The cake cup.
I have an espresso maker, and so I love it. But this is just a pot coffee. I have to drive about a half an hour to get my Nespresso pods.
Well, let's move to tomorrow's schedule. What do we got tomorrow that you're really looking at? I know, or for me, we could start early and late if you want to, like we normally do, or we could just bop around, whatever you'd like to do. Tony, what do you?
I like the format you had where you start early.
All right,
I have everything.
Start. Yeah. All right. We'll start early. We'll end late. Prairie View A&M taking on Texas A&M, the battle of the A&Ms. You got North Carolina versus Wofford. I tell you, Wofford sometimes gives these guys fits. Tulane against South Florida. Kentucky against New Mexico State would be a better basketball game than football. Tennessee State against Mississippi State. And then you get into Oklahoma, Iowa State. Oklahoma trying to bounce back off the Baylor loss. And Iowa State, well, just a really bad season for them. Western Kentucky against FAU. The Zips taking on Kent State. UMass against Army. Clemson, Wake. Interesting one. This is like the sharp game, I think. And then you have Northwestern versus Purdue. This one's on a neutral site. I'm going to guess it's at Soldier Field or something.
Yeah.
Georgia versus Charleston Southern. Then you've got Boston College, Florida State. West Virginia, Texas. Oh, the Sarkisian. If he loses both these games to end the season, or one of them, they don't make it to a bowl game. And then you got Michigan State, Ohio State. 19 points in this one. But it's an odd one because it's like there is a lot of action on Michigan State and the line is dropping. So, I mean, who knows? It's it is a weird spot. Ohio State does have Michigan next week. And then Penn State against Rutgers. That's the 12 noon Eastern time slot. Anything in there that just jumps off the page at you?
Well, what jumps off the page at me is BC here laying the 2. Djurkovic, the Notre Dame transfer, is back, and the team is playing well, and they're scoring. And they had a defense that kept them in games, but now the offense is clicking. So I like BC in that one. I would definitely look at West Virginia. Jared Doji is performing a little better here over his past 3 games. And I like the defense here for West Virginia. I don't like the defense for Texas. Texas's defense has been an issue even the Mac Brown years. That's why Mac Brown was fired, because they couldn't play defense. They haven't figured it out since. Michigan State, Ohio State. I like the over in that one.
Yep. So I asked James Clark, and the rule from Morgantown is still there from when I was there. And that is that you're allowed to leave at halftime and re-enter the stadium.
Crazy.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Morgantown, West Virginia.
I like it.
You could leave the stadium at halftime and then come back in for the second half. What you do out there, It's none of our business.
I'm leaning on Michigan State plus the points over Ohio State. I don't think that they can cover this many. And when we look at the road team in this matchup in the last 13, they've covered 9 of those 13 against the spread. So I like Michigan. And then I think the under for me in that Texas-West Virginia game. I think this number is a little bit high, and both these teams have been trending towards that under.
I like Clemson against Wake Forest. I don't think their quarterback gets enough recognition when we talk about crappy players. You know, it's like he really is terrible. I mean, he's got a stretch limousine worth of talent there. And I know they lost Etienne from last year and Trevor Lawrence, but they're stacked. It's Clemson. They've had the number one recruiting class for, 7-8 years running. So you've got to be pretty lousy at quarterback to not be able to take advantage of that. But I do think they have enough for Wake Forest because they have defense. Also, you got weird line movement, which in college football matters.
Mm-hmm.
Got Illinois taking on Iowa. I screwed up the video on this one, so there will be no video on Illinois, Iowa. I'm not going to reshoot. Notre Dame versus Georgia Tech. Colorado versus Washington. Whew. Washington, just as bad at football as they are as basketball. Almost. Maryland versus Michigan. This is the prototypical trap spot, right? This is the worst type of spot there is. From Michigan in that one. Navy against ECU. Charlotte against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Wisconsin. All of a sudden, people talking about them like they're great. Meanwhile, everyone forgets the blowout losses that they took this season. I mean, they got blown out of the building a couple times. Cincinnati against SMU. Boy, the world is out of love with people watch too much ESPN and not enough football. Out of love with Cincinnati. All they've done is win every game. It's not good enough anymore. It's okay to lose to Oregon, the only ranked team that you play, as long as the other team that beat a team ranked in the top 10, well, they're not winning by 14, 15 touchdowns on Sportsmanlike. It's like
their schedule is always stacked at the end of the year where they play the toughest AA teams at the end. So the winning margins are going to be a lot less as we get later in the season.
Yeah,
the way the schedule works.
It's I don't think Ohio State would be blowing out Houston either or any of these other teams. Yeah. We'll see. Mike Long wants to know what's up, Joe. Could give.
Not much. I got my coffee today. Everything's chipper.
And I tell you, you don't even need to ask her what's up. You just DM her a charcuterie board. What's up? Some dried meats. Maybe some those little tomatoes.
Good cheeses.
But she calls them tomatoes. Same thing. Tomato.
I try really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pit
try
those,
really hard
you
to
pit
say
those
that the other
Kalamata olives. You don't even think about sending those pits over.
Or just passing them all together.
These are the things I know. Trust me. Thank me later. Indiana's taking on Minnesota. Really dreadful year for Indiana. Oh. Tom Allen really showing his true colors here. 2-8 on the season. Alabama against Arkansas. Arkansas got shellacked by Georgia. I think they're going to show up this week. I think it's another one of those weird games for Alabama, too, even though they're home. Because they got Auburn next week.
Yeah, the Iron Bowl coming up.
Yep.
It's a lot of points.
Pitt and Virginia. Nothing fun about that. Liberty 4.5-point favorites over Louisiana. How is that possible? Any of these, Tony? How is that?
Yeah,
how is Liberty 4.5-point favorites over Louisiana?
You would think that's short, or you think the home form here for Liberty, I think, is telling you because it's a home run split here. Liberty obviously most teams play better at home, but it's just a huge difference at home for Liberty. They're averaging 503 yards a game, 4-0 at home, and Willis, the Flames quarterback, is in fantastic form. When you look at his past 3 games, he's averaging 9.9 yards per attempt, throwing for almost 300 yards. And Louisiana, they're not the same team on the road. They're averaging just 25 points a game, and the defense hasn't played well. The pass defense has been poor away from home. They're giving up 266 yards, 8.1 yards per pass attempt. And we're deep into the season now, so that you got to factor in some of those Sun Belt road games in those numbers. And still, you're looking at Louisiana's pass defense an issue, and Liberty just rolling teams at home.
Middle Tennessee and UMass were the last 2 home games for them. I think that Louisiana could do pretty well against those two teams. And I think on the road, North Texas, Louisiana Monroe, who they lost to as a 32.5-point favorite outright. They lost to Syracuse at Syracuse. That was earlier in the season. I don't know. I'm going to call this garbage time, that he's put those numbers together in. And even that game last week against Ole Miss, it wasn't last week. It was now 2 weeks ago, right? I had Ole Miss in that one. And we had to hold on for dear life for the cover because it was once again. I think they shut them out in the first half. What was the halftime score? I think it was 27-0. And then that's when they finally scored points. It was 24. Yeah, it was 27-0. And that's when they started scoring points. So it went into garbage time. It was 27-0. It wasn't 27-0. No, it wasn't 27-0. It was 24-0. And then Liberty scored a touchdown. And at that point, they're no longer playing for the shutout anymore. Then they went into a relaxed defense, Ole Miss. So he ended up being 16 of 25 for 173 yards and 3 Oskies. And one of those was like on that final drive where they were trying to go in for the cover, where they were playing in the deep, deep zone, it's throwing underneath. And he finally just threw one right to the other guy on Ole Miss, which Ole Miss is not really known for their defensive prowess either. And I don't know, man. I think this guy might be one of the most overrated players. I don't want a quarterback of my team that lost to ULM in college.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Not feeling it. Louisiana's played in some big games, too. Giving them more than a field goal. 0-4 against the number following a cover. Liberty, 8.
Last year, the thing is they had that great season 2 years ago. And last year there was high expectations. They didn't really cover a lot of games because the offense wasn't what it was 2 seasons in the 19 season.
Liberty 8-0 against the number as a home favorite and at home. Yikes. Yeah, this will be a good one.
I would look at Colorado plus the points against Washington's just a big mess right now with the offensive coordinator,
terrible.
The head coach.
Terrible.
It's just terrible. And Colorado has shown a pulse toward the end of the season here. If you look at they've won 2 straight at home. They beat Oregon State and Arizona at home. They're averaging 378 yards in those wins. So we're starting to see a little bit of a pulse here from Colorado, albeit late in the season. If you're looking for this Michigan-Maryland game, I just don't trust Maryland. We said this last week. I just don't trust Maryland's defense. I mean, they can set the trap, but I don't know if they don't know how to set a trap. So I have a hard time looking at taking the points with Maryland because of their defense is so bad.
They're home, and it's a look ahead to the Ohio State game. You don't see it?
Yeah. No, I see that, but I look at a Maryland defense that's given up 40 to Michigan State, 66 to Ohio State, 51 to Iowa.
Yeah, the Iowa was all turnovers.
I gotta lean on Maryland in that one. I think Michigan has too much at stake next week. They want a big win.
Oh yeah, that is the biggest game again in Harbaugh's career.
Yeah.
It is. There's no doubt. That's why I'm not picking a side. I'm just saying I'm just going to be on the sideline on that one because I'm afraid of
the Ohio State Michigan State's going to have a big bearing on that Ohio State Michigan game. If Michigan State wins, Michigan's season is over. If Michigan State beats Ohio State, Michigan's season's over. If they win, they'll have a shot at the playoff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can beat Ohio State, but if Michigan State beats Ohio State, if they finish with identical records, they're not going to put Michigan ahead of Michigan State. They can't.
No. But I don't think Michigan State comes out and wins that one. I think they cover it. I don't think they win.
No, they win easily, Joe.
You think? Don't say that about my Buckeyes. I want my Buckeyes to lose. Kind of a homer on that one.
Ohio State usually loses one a year as a 20-point favorite. The last one is a 14.
Yeah. Very true.
I would look at the 12. Yeah. I would look at the 12 with SMU too.
Down to 10, Sean.
10.
I like Arkansas against Alabama also. I think they give them a game. I don't think this is a great Alabama team. There, I said it.
Yeah, I got to go with Cincinnati minus the points. I think on Seniors Day, they come out so strong. And then I'm going to take Navy on the money line, too. I think they're going to own time of possession over East Carolina. And East Carolina has Cincinnati on deck. They're a look ahead. They want to beat Cincinnati.
That quarterback, East Carolina, he's just terrible. Aaron.
They got the job last week. Yeah. The Navy's owned. East Carolina has had a hard time defending Navy over the years.
Yeah. Navy's not going to turn that ball over.
BYU, Georgia Southern, UCF, UConn. Jim Moore Jr. on the way for the rescue. Tulsa, Temple. Temple just a rough year for athletics.
Oh God.
North Carolina State versus Syracuse. Got Missouri against Florida. Oh boy, this could be really rough because if Florida loses their next two games, they're out of a ball game. UTEP versus Rice. USC versus UCLA. TCU versus Kansas State. Victory bell, right? USC, UCLA. The victory bell.
Yeah.
We're gonna ring the victory bell. It's like, I think it could be one of the more lightly attended games in the series history.
Oh yeah.
It was that game I was telling everyone in the morning show that the year that the first year that they both wore their home uniforms for the game, and then they penalized them like a timeout. And then the very first play, Pete Carroll called timeout to equal it up. It's just like, this is the dumbest rule ever. I'm going to call timeout just to make it so we both have two timeouts. And then now they don't do it anymore. It's just like, he made a mockery of it. It was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's like, first play, timeout. It's like, but you haven't even snapped the ball yet. The kickoff went out of the end zone. Exactly. Kansas against TCU. Oh man, that Kansas team is miserable. Jerry Kill over at TCU couldn't get it done in back-to-back weeks, but I'll tell you, if he wins this one, it's just a win away from bowl game. Kansas State against Baylor, and one of the better games of the day.
Oh yeah, that is going to be a really good game. Especially the lines. There's going to be a lot of sore bodies at the end of this one, especially on the running backs and offensive linemen.
Stanford, Cal. We'll get to that one after. Any of these in this middle time slot?
I like some scoring here with the Florida Missouri game. I like that one over. And USC UCLA I like over as well. Jackson Dart over Keaton Slovis. Slovis out with the leg injury, but the true freshman showed some promise against Washington State. Had a really good game, threw for 391 yards, 4 touchdowns. I like the over in that one, as well as the over in Florida and Missouri.
Yeah, I'm liking the over in Kansas and TCU. I think it really does push up high in that one. I'm not trusting TCU to cover the full spread, though. I don't know. That's going to be a hard one. And then give me Baylor. I think Baylor comes out and takes Kansas State in this one. I think they're rolling with such momentum right now. It's a hard team to stop. And then give me Missouri plus the points. I think this is another one that they could upset Florida. I think 8.5 is way too many points.
Florida sucks. They just suck. Terrible.
So does Missouri.
Yeah.
they're both nasty teams. But the points factor here.
But I think Missouri could take down Samford pretty easily.
Yeah.
They really want me in that World Series of Poker for next year. Really want you back. Come on back.
I'll be back sooner because they're going back to the regular schedule start. I think in May, June, into July.
July, right? It's July.
Yeah. It goes into July. Yeah, the main event goes into July, but the rest of this bracelet events, I think, like late May, then June and July.
Yeah, I can't play. I can't play in an event that long unless it's at least 145 degrees outside. It's like Phil Hellmuth goes out there like 3 months early to practice baking. Stands in an oven for preparing for the World Series of Poker.
There were three straight overs in that USC UCLA matchup, and both teams are giving up about nearly 5.5 yards to carry on the ground over their past 3 games. So I think this opens up the scoring.
Oh, Phil, what have you been doing? I've been living in a sauna for the past month. I'm preparing for the World Series. I mean, you ever go out to Vegas like in the middle of the summer? It's like, oh man, nothing fun about it. You ever been to Vegas for July 4th? That's always the hottest day. It's like 235 degrees.
I've been to Vegas when it's cold, when it's hot. At least when it's hot, you can stay inside and go into the pools because they got a lot of shade.
When it's cold. Vegas is one of those places when it's cold, it's like it's freezing, right? Because it's not meant to be cold. It's like it's so cold. Even when it's like it could be like 40 degrees, feels like it's like negative 20.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Freezing.
It's funny because in the summer in the casinos you need a jacket sometime or a sweater because it's so cold in the casinos when it's in the middle of summer.
I've been at some very cold casinos.
Yeah.
Come on in, you're due.
So you got a backup quarterback at the Auburn here. Did we get to that game already with South Carolina?
No.
I think you mentioned. No, okay.
Not up next.
Okay.
Baylor, Kansas State. I like Kansas State in that one. I think Baylor coming off that Oklahoma, that was their season, as far as I'm concerned. I don't love the way that they've played this season. They're 8-2 this year. I mean, they could have easily been 10-0. They could easily been 6-6. Auburn versus South Carolina. South Carolina's really had a nice turnaround late in the season. They're going to make a bowl game. Well, they'd have to beat either Auburn or Clemson. But this is a bad spot for Auburn, too. You know, not a great spot for them. But Bo Nix, like you said, not playing. So that helps. FIU versus North Texas. Miami versus Virginia Tech. Two coaches that are gone, right?
Yeah.
Coachless game. I don't think Manny's officially fired yet, but he could be. Ole Miss versus.
And when they fired the AD, it's just a matter of time, you know.
Dead man walking.
Yeah.
An awful feeling, I guess.
The Miami Facebook groups, exactly what I thought they would be saying. We want Butch. Exactly.
Oh, no.
It's exactly what I thought they'd be saying.
Oh, did you see his exit interview, Butch? Blaming all the finger pointing he made. Oh, it's a comment. You got to read that. He's so upset at the FIU. I was sabotaged. They fired me. There was this website called 247 that released it over. Well, I was right because it happened over a week ago. I sent you the link, and he got really upset that it was leaked out. That he didn't know about his firing, but it's already been released that he was fired. And he goes, it wasn't fair because we had to use the same uniforms that we used last year. We're so disadvantaged. Oh, really? If you want more games, you brought more money to the school. You could play in better uniforms.
Generally, he's better than this.
I know.
Ole Miss versus Vandy. Oof. That one, 36.5. I still wouldn't feel comfortable with Vandy. That was like when Brian took Vandy against Georgia. It was like we're still on the show. The game had started. It was like one of those ones that ran long. It was like, oh, my God. And then the big one, Utah versus Oregon. It's the game of the day. That one, Michigan State, Ohio State, Utah, Oregon are the two big ones. The two that could have the biggest impact on the playoffs. Also, Cincinnati, SMU too. Tennessee, South Alabama. Tennessee favored by 28 points. Utah State versus Wyoming. Wyoming basketball team, super impressive last night. Texas Tech against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, very impressive last night, too.
Mm-hmm.
LSU versus Louisiana Monroe. Louisiana Monroe back to business for them. Oh, they have the worst basketball team. I think they're the worst. They're slow and can't shoot.
I got to watch more of them. The UR Monroe's been on my radar. The teams that have been on my radar has been Air Force, San Jose State. Some of those teams I've been following.
I like San Jose State this year, but I think that Louisiana Monroe, in that Auburn game, Auburn spotted them like 30. They were down by Auburn was like down by, they were down by, at the half by 10, beat them by 50. Boise against New Mexico, Oregon State versus Arizona State. These teams play every 2 weeks. Oregon State, Arizona State. Hawaii versus, it's always on the Pac-12 network. Hawaii versus Colorado State. Oregon State only plays on the Pac-12 network. It's like they're not a real team. Just stick on the Pac-12. Do they play Oregon next week? Is that the Civil War?
Yeah, Civil War next week.
They wanted to cancel the Civil War. Remember that? It's like, we got to cancel this. We can't have this.
Change the name.
We can't have this. It's like
we need civility. We need civility.
Yeah, civility. It's like there's a fight before the game. It's like I think they broke the record for like most fights in a game. Oregon State. It's like bench clearing.
Oregon State has always ruined their Oregon season. It seems they always ruin their season.
Well, what do you like in this slot? Texas Tech coming off that big win over Iowa State.
Yeah, I like actually Virginia Tech has shown a little pulse offensively. Brandon Burmeister, a couple of back-to-back good performances, albeit against Duke and Georgia Tech and Syracuse. The Georgia Tech's really their wheels are falling off defensively, but still, I would look at Virginia Tech here plus the points. You just got to fade FIU in every step of the way here. You only have one more week to fade them, so you got this week and next week. So I'll look at North Texas laying the points against FIU, and I like this Oregon Utah game. Well, that's a tough call there. Like laying the 3, but I liked what I liked a lot was Utah State here, laying the 5. Utah State is really not getting much respect at all. We saw them last week. They went out. They are in the Mountain West championship game. And they've been playing really, really good football here. Look over the past 3 Mountain West games, averaging nearly 500 yards, 342 through the air. Wyoming's had issues with their quarterbacks. Chambers has not been effective. Now they're going to a backup Levi Williams. If you watched that game last week, Boise State and Wyoming, what a horrific-looking offense Wyoming had. They got that lucky touchdown to get the cover, but the guy just pretty much threw the ball up in the air up for grabs. Levi Williams did, and it was completed. It was a luck pass. Wyoming's offense is horrific. So I would look at Utah State.
I think Mario Cristobal's coming home. I think this will be it for him at Oregon. I think he's going to be the next coach of the Miami Hurricanes. I do. It's a logical spot. It just makes a lot of sense. And I know the Oregon job's a great job. It's a great job. But he's coming home after the season.
With all this turnover, why would you want to leave? I mean, it's just obviously that the money's good, right? The money should be good in Oregon, you think, right?
The money's there, but there's money at Miami too, and that's a good job, the Oregon job. But you come and look at Miami's trophy case; it's not too bad either. And he won the national championship there as a player, and I think it's kind of his job that he wants.
There's always been something that's I was wondering about Cristobal. It never came out. Remember, he was at FIU, right? We never found out what happened there. We never found out what it was a big mystery to everyone. What happened? Something happened there at FIU. The team was successful, and it let him. There was, like I said, there's something under the rug here that I have a little concern about with Cristobal. That may come to light if Miami's looking for him.
So here's what these guys say about it. They say Luke Fickell is one of the guys being looked at the big jobs, possibly even Florida or Penn State. That's if Franklin goes to USC. Mario Cristobal, LSU, USC, Florida, Miami are the jobs that are looking at him. Matt Campbell, the guy who I've always wanted from Iowa State, USC, LSU, Washington, possibly Penn State, possibly Florida. So they're basically saying Mullen's gone is really the general word out here. James Franklin, USC, possibly Florida. I knew they weren't going to tolerate this from Mullen. They eat that contract in a hurry. And then Kalani Sitake, I don't think this guy's going anywhere.
I know, I heard about that.
He's not going anywhere.
Was he going to Washington? I think that was the rumor.
No way. No. USC, possibly, or Arizona State, possibly Oregon. No. I could see him at Oregon. That's the only job I could see him taking. I would love him at Miami.
I can see. Oh boy, that's a good one.
I don't.
Herman Edwards.
I
could see.
He's
Herman
not going
Edwards
anywhere.
Go to USC. I could see Herman Edwards go to USC.
But I can't see this guy.
Coach work.
I can't see this guy going anywhere. I can't see this guy going anywhere. It's like I think that's the job that he's wanted, and like that he could be like Lavelle Edwards and just stay as long as he wants.
What do you think Herman Edwards at USC?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know if they want a defensive coach.
They need one. Look. The defense has been horrible with USC.
Mel Tucker, he's already said that Michigan State is a destination gig. LSU,
which means he wants more money. You better raise the dollar value for him if you want him to leave. That's what that means.
LSU, USC, possibly Florida. Dave Aranda from Baylor. Here's the big one. You know that I think he's going LSU.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But USC, LSU, Washington, possibly Oregon. Jimbo Fisher, LSU. Don't see it. I don't think Jimbo Fisher is that great of a coach.
No, he's moving around a lot.
He makes a ton of money. A ton. He makes more than most NFL coaches, my guess. My guess is
Florida State deteriorated with him.
Right.
The past defense went to hell with him there and hasn't recovered since.
Gary Patterson is also available. So Nick Saban makes 9.7. Ed Orgeron 9.012. Well, but you got to win for that. You got to win for that.
Yeah, have to.
Stanford, David Shaw, 8.924,683. Dabo, 8.37. Lincoln Riley, 7.67. My guess is they're going to have to pay him some more to get him to stay. I heard LSU, the rumor is they've offered him $70 million for like 6 years or something, 6 or 7 years. Dan Mullen, 7.57. Oof. That's dead money.
I think he was auditioning for the media. If you saw his last press conference, the way he looked, looked like he was auditioning with that nice cut, that nice little clean haircut, smiling to everybody.
Jimbo Fisher, 7.5. Kirby Smart, 7.1. Ryan Day, 6.6. I'd love to get that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
And Gary Patterson, 6.1. Those are the highest paid coaches going into this season. Two to three of them going to be fired. One's already fired. Mullen, I think, has a real good chance to get fired. Romanelli tried to pull off on our show on Saturday last week that people have moved on from college football in Gainesville, and now they're on to basketball.
No.
That
doesn't happen until January.
That would be considered part of the problem. If that is the case, that would be considered a problem.
I don't think so. Yeah. They move on. Once conference season starts, I mean, you got your really diehards that travel with the team right now in these non-conference games. Look, I mean, I was watching a Missouri game. There was on TV. There was no one in the stands. I mean, they're poorly. A lot of these games are poorly attended in the non-conference. Not until conference season starts when everyone focuses on it.
So Orgeron and Patterson both already gone, so possibly Mullen gone from that group too. $15 million, that would make $22 million, $23 million in dead money being paid out.
Well, don't forget they like to promote these NFL assistants too into college, especially these guys that they move from quarterback coach to head coach in college football. So
I can only hope we don't get one of those guys. We don't. I think I'm going to guess that the Miami job will go to a guy with head coaching experience. That's all I can say. And it might not be the guy that we want. You know, I think the guys that Miami are probably looking at are Chris Peterson and Cristobal and probably maybe Tom Herman, possibly. I think maybe, a guy like that. I don't know. I might guess Orgeron will be a part of the staff again. I don't know. I always like to look at my old Miami coaches. I have a few of these programs that I have just lying around. This was one that I just had because I was using it the other day. But you look at the coaches that are on the assistant coaches. You see like where they end up going.
Wouldn't it be something to Deion Sanders? If I don't think he's had the success he wanted to in D2, but if he came to big time college football, he would only take a head coaching job at a big school, Florida State. But it'd be interesting to see if Deion Sanders becomes a head coach in big time college football.
See, these were the days, like Dennis Erickson. Here's how it leads in. 2 years. Dennis Erickson is the second coach to win national championships in 2 of his first 3 years at his school, and when he led Miami to a perfect 12-0 mark. He was fired the next year.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks very much.
You know the job he took? You know the next job he took after that?
Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yep.
And then his last college football job, head coaching job?
Oh, he came back. Oh, Oregon State, right?
No.
He took
Idaho.
He got the Oregon State job. Remember, they rung up Notre Dame in the Fiesta. He had Hushmanzada and Chad Johnson, he had them both on that one team with Oregon State, and they lit up Notre Dame in the Fiesta by 70.
And his last job was in Idaho.
Oh, really? With the Vandals?
Yeah, the Vandals.
Guy's an offensive genius. We just did not like the one back. He lost 4 games in 5 years total. 2 of them were national championship games, and we ran him out of town. We lost that game right there, that program. I was going over this the other day. We had Warren Sapp was our nose tackle with Ray Lewis behind him, and we lost that game to Nebraska, and we fired him. They went on to win back-to-back national championships. They won the national championship by beating us that day, and then the next year they beat Florida 56-17 for the title. And we fired him, coach, over it. It was like,
you know who's out there? They pulled an ESPN coach and put him into college football. Rex Ryan is out there too.
Yep. We don't like the one back. That's what happened with Erickson. It's like, if you're gonna bring in the one back, you better win every game. It's like, we did not like the spread one back. Because what happens is your quarterback gets just crushed. It's ugly when your quarterback gets sacked in the one back in college.
Yeah.
It was Gino Torretta. He just didn't have the mobility, so he would just get cracked.
Now, I'm going to throw a name out there because there's a little bit of tension between the quarterback and upper management. That's Pete Carroll.
To come back to the college game?
Come back to college just because he cannot play his defensive style system, or else he'll lose his quarterback. Russell Wilson, he had to.
What's his status with USC? Did he leave on amicable? He was wasn't there like some problems at the end?
I don't know if he would leave USC, but I could see him pursued for one of the jobs at some other schools.
Well, Oregon,
no doubt.
Oregon's
SEC.
got money.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because
he's a West Coast guy.
Pete Carroll is not playing the system he wants his system because he had to change his philosophy to please Russell Wilson. Remember, he got all the issue there.
I could see him at Oregon.
And right now would be a good time for him to leave because there's all these good openings right now. LSU, there's a lot of jobs he could walk right into.
LSU job is a good job.
Yeah,
they have a serious athletic program.
I think he would have more fun. He definitely had more fun coaching college football than he does the NFL because he had some riffs with the general manager, with the team. Remember who was that player that gave him the bird when he got hurt? He's that so.
I forgot about that.
Miami offered Gruden. Oh, that was Marino. He gave him the
Remember when he got?
He gave him this. It was Marino.
Was it Marino?
Yeah, he gave him this, and that's when Marino did the fake spike.
Okay.
Remember, he got the ball, he was fake the spike.
No, we're talking with the Seahawks when his linebacker got carted off the field and gave him the finger because he didn't. Remember, he was negotiating his contract. He wasn't happy. That situation there. There's been a lot of there's been some stuff going on in Seattle, and Carroll doesn't seem to be having fun like he used to. He's smiling. He's not smiling as much. You like to call him clappy and smiley. We're not seeing that personality as much as we did when he was started with the Seattle Seahawks, and then of course his time with USC seemed to be having a lot more fun.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Kind of just turned into random football talk, which I enjoy. I could definitely stay here for a couple hours and kick back and talk college football and NFL football. I think it's a lot of speculation. I think we're going to find out in the coming weeks. My guess is after next week's games, the hammer's going to come down on some coaches, and there'll be other guys that will make the decision to leave their team before they play in their bowl game. And we see that happen every year. And people are always like, oh, they didn't stay. Like Brian Kelly didn't stay for his team's bowl game against Florida when he was in Cincinnati. You just don't, it happens all the time. So it's part of college football. And it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, because if Oregon's out of the play, if Oregon loses this game, right, against Utah, and they're not going to the championship game, or they lose to Oregon State, then we're going to find out exactly what's up with Mario Cristobal. We're going to find out right away. We're going to find out what's up right away with a lot of these guys.
I'll just throw an NFL out there. One I'm looking at is the Colts plus the points.
Oh, yeah, we didn't go NFL.
We didn't go NFL, yeah.
Colts plus the points. I think Joe liked that one as well.
Yeah, I like that. Most definitely.
Well, next week is Thanksgiving on Thursday. Friday, we'll have college football all day. You're welcome to join us for talk some college football, and games will be going. It's up to you. It's an off-schedule week.
Can't wait for it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Will be a lot of fun. Always is. Joe,
you got a good lineup tonight for the drive-through, Tony?
Yeah, we do. We have a good lineup. We'll start here top of the hour, and got some of the picks coming in. We'll have a coverage tonight from the NBA, some college football, and as well as college basketball.
We're gonna set up
3 picks.
We're gonna set Joe up on that auto delivery of coffee. Like I have an auto delivery. Like every 4 weeks, they drop 5 pounds of coffee off my house.
I was that bad yesterday.
Yeah.
You're like, oh damn.
Pretty much. We're gonna set her up on the auto delivery system.
I also have the 49ers circled. I think their run game can give Jacksonville trouble there.
I can't stand those guys. Can't stand them. Principle alone. I like the Ravens to smash the Bears. They always beat up on the bad teams.
Yeah.
And that's right. We're going to see the statue in action. So I have to look at Miami's side against, even though we got to lay the hook there. But with Joe Flacco, the quarterback.
Yep, and Boyle in for the Lions against Baker Mayfield and the Browns.
And
is that going to help them? I guess it can't be worse.
If you just check him down, maybe, right? And I know,
Any chance Jimmy Johnson comes back to Miami for a year?
Oh man, he loves his TV job, man. These guys don't want to leave. Why do you think Howard stayed at CBS so long? Those are the best jobs because you only work 1 day a week. If you got a 1 day a week job, you stay with it. But if you work at ESPN and have to work around the clock, then you get out of there. That's where you want. You look at the guys that work at ESPN; they're overworked. They don't like their jobs at ESPN. They work too much.
Gruden turned down that Miami job 4 or 5 times. He always thought about it. He never was one of those guys that just no. He never did that. He always thought about it.
Well, he needs $10 million a year, right? The Raiders gave him $10 million a year. That's why the NFL wanted him out, because he pissed off all the owners. We don't want our coaches getting $10 million a year contracts.
Equity.
Yeah.
And equity.
They hated that. They hated it from the get-go. That's why he was singled out, is they wanted that off the book. We don't want coaches paid that much. Don't raise up our salaries. All the owners were really pissed off at that contract they gave Gruden.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate you all. It's been a great show. Tony, once again, always a pleasure. Joe?
I had coffee. Can't complain today.
Joe's like, I'm so sick of these guys' immature and infantile behavior. Go to your rooms.
Okay. My mom will just be giving you a call later, Mitch. It's okay.
Happens. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.